Bienvenido, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tropical Bets Ahora. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. And as we always like to say, ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué pasó contigo? Hope everyone is doing well. And we always want to say, first and foremost, thank you to our wonderful folks over on Channel 82 Bermuda, keeping us on the air. If you're just joining for the first time, it is a 30-minute rapid pace sports betting gambling show. We kind of center around the Latin, Central, South American market. Obviously, our wonderful friends over in Bermuda, and of course, in the Caribbean. With that being said, you can always get social with me, and that's very easy to do on so many multiple platforms, including multiple YouTube channels on X at Rich Q on Q, IG at Rich Q on Q, TikTok, Rich Q on a mic, and of course, Caribbean Deportes Talk channel or at Rich Quinones on YouTube. And as we always talk about during the show when we're on Follow Along Channel 82 in Bermuda. So, kind of a light weekend in certain sports that we like to cover, especially Premier League with a little break this weekend. I'll give you a couple World Cup qualifying plays. We want to get into some fight news as well. And there's a couple of very interesting games stateside where I am in the NFL, the other football that we like to joke and say with on the air. So we'll have a little fun with that. We always want to start the show to remind everyone that TBA Tropical Bets Ahora is for entertainment purposes. Gambling problem 1-800 Gambler, and always get social with Channel 82 Bermuda. And I know you guys had a little bit of a weather issue and storms, and I believe hurricanes as well. So hopefully everyone's safe and sound back in the saddle over there. And as we mentioned, we love being on the air. We've got so many people that were chiming in over the last several weeks with the soccer plays because, yeah, we've been a little bit on fire, we would like to say. So I know that we spoke money management. I was looking at a couple different books for some good ROI, return on the investment, with some of these certain values. So that's why we're kind of going to go light today with a couple of the plays. And as I mentioned, everything starts and ends with the managing of the bankroll and the budget, and that's really you can, like, for instance, even last weekend, did well with the soccer picks, had a little bit of a setback in low with some of the football, the NFL picks, and was able to kind of sit back, regroup a little bit, kind of go through where I'm at unit wise, in the positive, which is great. And then sprinkle a little bit this weekend, not get carried away because that's not what I'm looking to do, to be quite honest. And again, to each his own, as we like to say, to each his own with that. So light weekend on the pitch. You got a World Cup qualifier, Spain versus Georgia. I think some of these picks that we've had a little bit of juice of late, some nice wins. Now you've got a couple scenarios to go in this one. A lot of the projections in this game is a high scoring win, obviously, for Spain. Are they going to win it by 2, 3, multiple goals, right? So for Spain to win this one 3-1, 4-1, you get some pretty strong odds at 10 to 15 to 1. Now, you can try to be a bet builder in this regard. Spain to score 1 goal in the first half, 2 in the second. That gets you your 3 if you're going to play the over in the total goals. Remember, we talked a lot about that last week, especially in football. If I see a total in American football, the NFL, or college football, where it's, say, 40 points, all right, are each these teams going to combine for 40, or is the score at the end going to be over 40? It could be 30 to 10, 31 to 10, and I win the bet. So Spain has been excellent in Group B thus far. They had the big win over Bulgaria, 3-0 back in September, I think September 4th. They turned around and they blanked. They absolutely squashed Turkey 6-0 a couple days later. That gave them the 6 points for an available, and from an available 6. Look, they're overwhelming favorites in this one. They're actually one of the short odds favorites to win the World Cup this summer. I mean, so you got to go back. Even you talk about the reigning European champions. They beat England in the final of 2024 of the Euro 2024. They won the World Cup which was an unbelievable run. I'm not going to lie, I had a little, a tear or two in my eyes because Espana Spain is my squad, so they won it back in 2010. But the last 2 to 3 editions of this tournament have not been good to the Spaniards. Now they won 7 of their 8 games against Georgia in all competitions, including a 4-1 triumph when the two teams last locked horns, which came in the late 16th stage of Euro 2024. Georgia, meanwhile, new kids on the block, their first ever major tournament. And if you go back again, kind of a little bit of a surprise, if you will, right? So they reached the last 16 stage of the tournament, and I think they earned a lot of respect. They earned a lot of admirers for their play on the pitch and their moxie. Now, they came out. They also got the 3-2 win over Turkey, where of course Spain was able to blank Turkey. That was in the 2026 World Cup qualification. They bounced back against Bulgaria, and I should check myself. They lost that game. Pardon me. They lost that game to Turkey 3-2. I think it was a late score too in stoppage time. They bounced back against Bulgaria, and that was the 3-0 win. That allowed them to move on to 3 points. I just think the Spain is just well equipped for a game like this. I think they're going to push the pace, look for a lot of opportunities in the midfield. We always talk about those second chance opportunities, whether it's going to be corners or free kicks. Spain's just too talented. I mean, they're too talented. I'm not going to go back to 2016 and tell you that Georgia finally gets a win over Spain, which was an international friendly back in 2016, but they've lost 5 straight, and they got thumped back in 2023, 7-1. I don't see how offensively they match up with the Spaniards. I really don't. I do like Spain in this game to win by multiple goals. I think Spain could score 4 goals. I actually think this could potentially be a shutout win for Spain. And I just want to give you a couple of numbers on that. So we're looking at various books. Let's just say FD, BetMGM. You want to go FanDuel again if you're playing stateside, wherever you're tuning in on this edition of TBA. Let me break it down to you in this regard. So I gave you goals wise, and this kind of shows you the disparity when you're looking at a game like this from an odds standpoint right now. So minus 750 Spain is. So you're laying a lot, right? And they're the prohibited favorite. If you go to more bets and you want to kind of bet build if you win, say like, Spain to win by 2, Italy to win by 2 against Estonia, Portugal to win by 2 against Ireland. That's a nice little, that parlay for, $5 at plus 16 will pay out about $30 and change. For 10, it pays out 71 and change. So Spain on the money line is minus 750. It draws plus 800. Jordan one is plus 800. I just don't see that happening at all. I do like the total goals in this one. I'm going to go over 3.5, even though it's I'm laying 115 to win back 100. So as far as the other games, you've got Belgium, Macedonia. That is again a whopping line at plus 1200. Ireland against Ukraine. I'm trying to look at some of these other games, these World Cup qualifiers that actually stand out. Portugal and Ireland. That's Saturday, 2:45. So again, if you want to bet build in that one, you can definitely bet build. If you think both teams are going to score first half and or second, you get some positive money. $10 will pay you out right around $120. That's not bad. Portugal, again, heavy favorite, minus 600 on the money line. Ireland comes in big time dog, plus 2,500. If you think the Irish are going to keep this close or maybe pull it out late, plus 2,500. It's a hell of a return on the investment, whether it's a 10, 15, $20 bet. A draw is plus 500. I don't see that. We talked a lot 2 weeks ago. Tie, no bet. Portugal minus 20,000. So this kind of goes into my look but don't touch kind of aspect of some of these games. And I wish there were more, some of these Premier League games on the docket. I mean, you're going to get a substantial amount of international friendlies today. And then you'll get more on Saturday when this goes to air. And you'll get the World Cup qualifiers as well. Germany, Luxembourg. I think Germany is already up 1-0 in that one. Ukraine's up on Iceland 1-0. So you're going to get a boatload of opportunities when you're talking about some of these World Cup qualifiers to put some coin in said pocket. But I think just Spain is just a very tough team to beat. And that's kind of, you know, you just got to keep shopping around for the value. It's the same thing we talked about with the fights and boxing. You got a couple title affairs this weekend. And the one that kind of stands out because it doesn't have a line, and I think a line will be visible in public, sticking with the Spanish team, right? You got Spain's Manever Gutierrez against Maite Botella, and that's going to be for the vacant Spanish super flyweight title. So the odds aren't out yet, but I saw future odds in this one a couple weeks ago where it was crazy because you have two fighters that don't have a substantial amount of ring time, and Gutierrez is actually the betting favorite. Now it's off the board. Gutierrez is 6-5, 32 years of age. She's won 3 of 4, but her last bout, she beat Claudia Venzaria, who's had like well over 90 something fights, if that even makes sense, if you can believe that. Botella is 2-2. She's 32 years of age. Not as much competition. So this is scheduled for 10. A fight like this, if you can dig and research and find a an app or book that's going to give you a draw, I think that's actually your best play in this one. Now, as far as the fight stateside with Boots Ennis fighting in Philadelphia, you have a big time, a big time dog. And when you have big time dogs in title fights, I always tell you that's not a bad thing to play. But in this case, I just don't like this fight. I'm not going to do anything with this fight. And again, talking about the Ennis fight against Lima, Usama Lima is trying to emerge from the shadows, right? So he's trying to make a great showing. And listen, Ennis is cocky. He's brash. He's going to make that proclamation where I'm going to knock him out. You're not going to get any value with a bet like that. You're just not. You're not. I know this kind of goes against what I said, but if this fight on paper was a little more record wise competitive, right? On paper competitive, then I would say take a flyer. I would say take a flyer. But you got a 28-year-old fighting in his backyard, 38-0, substantial amount of knockout power against a fighter that's 14-1. And let's be honest, just, really the quality of competition pales into the competition and the level that Boots Ennis has had. Yeah, okay, fine. Lima has, fought some decent fighters. He's a southpaw, but he's also 32. He's 14-1, got 10 knockout power, but you got to equate it to the competition, the level of competition. And all of his fights, a lot of them, majority were in Europe, right? And, he was just train wrecking people early in his career because he was building a brand and building his resume up. Different animal with Boots. Whether you like a style or not, people, believe he might be pound for pound the best fighter out there. I know in our backyard locally, he's talked about a lot, right? Because you're talking about a fighter that has won the IBF, world welterweight title. He's won the IBF interim world welterweight title, and he's a hell of a fighter. But I just don't see value in a fight like this. All right, as far as the NFL, there's only a couple plays that I actually want to kind of pinpoint, and it's about the totals and the over. And this is what we talked about in Premier League. We talked about this several weeks ago in the NFL. It's when you're combining the points. Okay, so when you look at the total, it's what I believe the total amount of points scored between both teams will be. I don't care who scores what as long as we get there. So, for instance, 43 points, Denver and the Jets, 43 and a half. If the score is 30-13, again, if I play the over, I've lost that. It's gone under 43 and a half. So you got to pump it up, get me to 44. If you believe these teams are going to score 44 or more, that's a solid bet. The reason I'm bringing this up is, over the last several weeks in the NFL, there has been a substantial amount of scoring, whether these are defensive touchdowns, special teams touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, quarterback scrambling all over. If you go back to week 5, a substantial amount of games hit the total. 49ers and the Rams, they scored 49 points. The Colts and the Raiders combined 46 points. The Cowboys and the Jets. We told you during the week on cue with my show Stateside that the Cowboys were not only going to cover the number, but train wreck the Jets. So they combined for 59 points. The Dolphins and the Panthers combined for 51 points. The Texans and the Ravens, who have no defense, combined for 54 points. The over has been in play in the NFL. And I love the over for several games this weekend. Several games this weekend. The Rams and the Ravens, that total is 45 and a half. Baltimore has zero defense, a bunch of injuries. The Rams should easily score 28-30, which means the Ravens are going to have to figure out a way to keep this game close. Maybe they get a couple of rushing touchdowns from their running back, Derrick Henry, which is always good for an anytime score. But again, 30-16, 30-17, I hit the number 45 and a half. So I do like that total in that game. Seattle and Jacksonville, 47 and a half. Now, Seattle can score. Jacksonville coming off a big win against Kansas City, defending AFC champs. They're at home. They are actually getting a point and a half in this one. This is going to be a high scoring game as well. I think both quarterbacks are going to have an opportunity to sling it a little bit. I'm looking for a 28-24 type of game, 30-28 type of game. That means I'm going to play the over again. So when you look at the way these games are mapped out on apps, you'll see the record, home record, away record. You'll see the spread, which team is favored. You'll see that in bold, and then you'll see the total for score. And then you can always look at low totals. Like, for instance, when you're looking at low totals, you got to keep in mind, is a backup quarterback playing? Is a quarterback injured? Are they missing certain players that would, for lack of a better word, not be able to contribute to their offense or on defense? You have to look at that. That is very key. And I'll give you the perfect example of a scenario like that. The Browns against the Steelers. The Browns are going with a young rookie quarterback on the road in Dylan Gabriel. The total number of points is 38 and a half. This has the makings to be a low scoring game because you're not going to take a lot of shots with a rookie quarterback on the road. So look for Cleveland to try to run the ball a little bit, which means a little more time of possession, which means what? Not as many points being scored because you're going to limit Pittsburgh's possessions as well. So those are things you want to look at when we're talking about the totals in the NFL, just like we also break down in boxing with if we're picking rounds for the knockout, the TKO, the stoppage, just like we do with Premier League. And we're talking about the total amount of goals scored in the first half and the second half. If we believe one player specifically is going to score a goal or two, those are pretty much called player props. And the same holds true in the NFL. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, player prop. Are they going to score? And you just got to shop around. We call it shop around. I say it a lot for value. And a lot of these apps, when you break them down, you click on more bets, and sometimes you look at TD scores. First score. TD score is someone that's going to cross the goal line. So if you believe, let's just say for Denver against the Jets, I'll give you a player. J.K. Dobbins of Denver is going to be the first player in the game to score a touchdown, which means he scores a touchdown for Denver at plus 475. So if you just do your calculator, a $5 bet is going to win you back 28.75, right? A $10 bet is going to win you back 57.50 because you got to get your initial investment back. So those are things to look for. Next score, live score, in-game live scores. You're taking a team that's losing. You think they're going to come back. You've got odds to your favor. But it's all about shopping around. We're going to eventually start to get into what's going on in the Caribbean and Mexico with basketball, Thailand. They're going to start posting odds. The NBA is going to start as well. I mean, it already kind of started with the preseason, right? But those are some things we're going to look at. Again, player props. how many points, how many rebounds, how many steals, how many assists. So there's always going to be some value as you shop around a little bit. All right, a couple more minutes to play with. Want to remind everyone this is Tropical Bets Ahora. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. A very fast-paced 30 minutes of action. We cater to Central, South America, Bermuda, and the Caribbean markets as well. And we always like to say first and foremost, hello to our very good friends tuning in on Channel 82 in Bermuda. You can get social with them anytime. You got to subscribe to their YouTube channel. Follow them on IG as well. Also on Facebook. They put out great local content. Looking forward to doing more sports with the good folks over on Channel 82 in Bermuda. All right, a couple minutes to play with. It goes by very fast. We're going to step aside. We'll take a quick time out. We'll come back and we'll close out this edition of Tropical Bets Ahora on the other side. Welcome back, everyone, to TBA Tropical Bets Ahora. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. Don't forget, Tropical Bets Ahora is for entertainment purposes only. Gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. A couple of guys asked last week, horse racing wise. Yes, we certainly want to start getting into horse racing. I mean, look, obviously, there's a lot going on in the world of sports and horse racing. That is a sport that can be extremely profitable, right? If you bet it the right way, right? And it's tough if you don't understand because the horse racing odds basically are reflection of the horse's potential payout. So there's certain, the percentage, you have to understand that, how the bets are laid out, how to read the bets, right? So like think about it. If you get 7-2 odds, $7 for every two wagers. So that's a profit of $7. So your total payout is going to be what? $9. So you kind of read that in a way that indicates for every two times the horse is expected to lose, it's expected to win 7 times, 5-1. Same thing. That now you're stretching the odds. That's a long shot, or it's an underdog, like we say, an underdog, right? Georgia is a big underdog against Spain, right? Team A is a big underdog. My Giants in the States were 8.5-point underdogs against Eagles on Thursday Night Football, and then they waxed them 34-17. Thank you very much. Even money, 1-1. So a buck for every buck wagered. $2 bet, profit is 2. My payout is 4, right? $2 bet, $2 profit. 1-2, $1 for every two wagered. $2 bet, profit is 1. Your total payout is what? 3. $2 bet, $1 profit. So which means again, odds, straight bet, horse got to finish first to win. Horse got to finish first. To place, your horse got to finish first or second. To show, your horse must finish first, second, or third. And then you go across the board. It's a combination of the above 3 bets. There's a lot of good content on horse racing. There's a lot of good podcasts out there on horse racing that really break it down. But it can be profitable, from an exacta, trifecta, superfecta. I mean, make some money, especially when you're talking about the Preakness, the Belmont, the famed Kentucky Derby. If you really pick that horse, I mean, I remember years ago, Smarty Jones. Smarty Jones won the 2004 Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. Came in second in the Belmont. But my father and I bet him as the favorite to win the Kentucky Derby. And I'll try to pull up I mean, it was a pretty nice hit, to be quite honest with you. At the time, 4-1 betting favorite. I remember the track was bad. So basically, the $2 bet won us back 10. That's not what we bet, but it was a profitable day, and it was a good bet. That was a good bet because my father knew how to bet on horse racing. You got to keep educating yourself to kind of understand the sport. So just remember, as we always preface on the show, money management, bankroll management. Don't chase your losses. There's always time to make up for your losses. Have fun. Don't go in thinking you're breaking the bank. You start to go in and you're thinking you're going to make a living off of this. That's a tough nut to crack, right? Go in with the mindset, entertainment purposes. Again, if you could afford to lose it and understand that it's for entertainment purposes, great. Don't go in there with the opportunity where, oh man, this I'm going to make, unless you're independently wealthy and you don't have a care in the world, I'm sorry. You got to turn around. You got to be smart with it. And as I mentioned too, man, sometimes you have some really bad beats, as we like to say. I mean, hell, if you're hoping to go to extras the other night in the Phillies and the Dodgers, look how that game ended. You know, you have a pitcher on the mound, unfortunately, just had a major just a panic moment that cost the Philadelphia Phillies a series, and now the Dodgers move on. I mean, so you can get the bad beats and you can have some really good wins, but ultimately it's all about the money management. It's about being smart, respect the money, and in turn, it's going to respect you back, right? So maybe next week we'll get into a little more of the betting. I guess you can say philosophy behind horse racing. We'll throw in some cricket odds as well. A lot more soccer, some boxing. We're going to get into some hoops. You got a lot of leagues in Asia that presenting lines, a lot of leagues in the Caribbean, in Mexico as well, that presenting lines that I think are going to be profitable if we play it the right way. All right, got to start wrapping up this edition of TBA. Tropical Bets Ahora. And again, this is a very fast-paced look in the sports betting world, kind of catering around Latin, Central, South America, Bermuda, and of course, the Caribbean markets. And we always like to say, don't forget to get social with our good friends over in Channel 82 in Bermuda. We cannot wait to be back on the air with our good friends over there. And we always like to say, bienvenido for our good folks tuning in. I hope, we're supposed to get hit with a little bit of the weather too. So hopefully they are safe and sound. And as always, we encourage you to get social with us at Rich Q on IG, on X, Rich Q on TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Subscribe to the Caribbean Deportes Talk channel. Also, my at Rich Q channel on YouTube, Monday to Friday on Q stateside. Also, Back Your Play. That's available on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple, Buzzsprout, all over the place. So we will talk again later on a Friday, but we'll see you guys over the weekend on channel 82. Hoping that your bets are very profitable. Have fun with it. Always entertainment purposes, as we always like to say. That's always a reminder that we like to say, but we always appreciate you guys keeping us tuned in for 30 minutes of another edition of Tropical Bets Ahora. Have a good sports weekend. And as always, I'm Rich Quinones, and we like to say, we hope you guys stay safe. You also stay sound. You put a little coin, a little shekel, a little dinero in the pockets. And of course, as always, hasta luego. Buen día. Gracias por tu tiempo. We appreciate your time. Have a good day, and we will certainly talk to you again on another edition of Tropical Bets Ahora right here on Channel 82 in Bermuda.